What's up, everybody? Last week in gaming proved to be a very memorable one. We had a brand new map arrive on Steam's Phasmaphobia game. We had a new launch, which I think we all know what I'm talking about. Cyberpunk 2077 releasing on December 10th. We had a bunch of other games that released around it. And we also had a whole lot of other news besides that. So before we get into anything else, I think I'm going to lead with something that a lot of people may have looked over. Now I'm talking about Prince of Persia Sands of Time. Now this game released back in 2003 and it is finally getting a remake. Last week we found out that this game was going to be delayed until March 18th of 2021. Now the remake is being explained by Ubisoft as a full-scale remake of the original game from 2003, and it is also going to have an unlockable component to it, which is the 1989 Prince of Persia game itself. And this is very exciting. Ubisoft is bringing back a iconic game, and maybe there'll even be a brand new Prince of Persia on the horizons. I'm talking about a next-gen game, but for now, March is coming up very, very soon, and we can only get even more excited finding out this brand new remake is going to also have the iconic 89 original game itself within it. Now, moving past that, we're going to get straight into the biggest release of last week. I'm talking about Cyberpunk 2077, released on December 10th, as I said earlier, and this game released with accolades. It had 8 million plus pre-orders before it even launched. It made up all of its development and marketing costs before it even reached day 2. This is insane. It pulled a profit before its first 24 hours, which is a very, very momentous thing to pull off for any video game. It broke records for being the most streamed game on day 1 on Twitch, and while it was so popular, it also had a fair share of issues within it. Now, I'm going to run down a brief list of all the issues since day 1, where I'm going to talk about 2 different patches that also have been implemented since then, and we're going to wrap up with our thoughts on next gen and last gen, because there is a very big difference between the two with this game. Now, Cyberpunk 2077 broke the most games sold on PC on day 1 record. This record was previously held by World of Warcraft's Shadowlands expansion. Now, this game only released 3 weeks ago, and it only had a short period of time to bask in the record-breaking spotlight with its 3.7 million day 1 downloads, because Cyberpunk 2077 swooped in on December 10th and broke that record by 1 million, talking about 4.7 million PC day 1 downloads, and that is an insane record when you really think about it. But with such an amazing start, there were some issues along the way. Now, I'm going to go down this list very quickly, and we're kind of going to touch on the bigger issues that have hit this game since launch. All the issues I am going to be talking about have not been fixed at this point. However, there were 2 patches to try to kind of put a band-aid on these things, but they have not fully been fixed at this point. It is very early. We're only in the first week of this game, so expect more patches along the way. But on all platforms, PlayStation, PC, and Xbox, there has been a widespread crashing where you will be playing the game and it will simply crash out. You'll have to restart your console or your PC and try to get back into your game. Past that, however, there's been a flatlining error for PC gamers. Now, this can reportedly be fixed by restarting your PC and then updating your GPU. However, there is a small majority of players that have tried this and it has not been a successful fix. So keep that in mind when you try to implement this. Past that, there's an audio crackle on PC, and there's audio issues on the console versions as well, just in general. Other kind of in-game issues, I'm talking about the inventory stats are missing on weapons at times. Enemies are able to see you through the walls apparently, and we're going to kind of wrap things up before we head to the next gen versus past gen consoles with an interesting problem that has been widespread across all platforms. I am talking about genitalia, ladies and gentlemen. Genitalia has been widespread in CD Projekt Red Cyberpunk 2077. Apparently, either gamers will just have their genitalia just popping out from under their clothes, and there is no apparent fix to this at this point, or there's another issue which is even more extreme, where you will just be completely naked walking through Night City, and you will have no option to equip clothing in-game, and people will act like you are clothed, but your character is completely naked. So this is an interesting issue that we had not expected before this game launched, and it is one that, as I said, is widespread across all platforms. Getting past that though, we head to PS4 and Xbox One. Now apparently they are experiencing major issues across all different levels. Now they are having resolution and frame rate issues, and all the other issues that I have listed are happening on these platforms, and this could simply be showcasing the fact that Xbox One and PlayStation 4 have a certain amount of limitations given that they are last gen, and this game was built, albeit more recently, for next gen consoles. We are going to have to take these issues in stride. As we said, CD Projekt Red is doing all they can to fix these issues, but as of now, everything I have listed has not been fixed. We are going to talk about the patches that have been implemented at this point to Cyberpunk 2077. There was a Day Zero patch and a 1.04 patch that went live earlier this week. Now the Day Zero patch was basically a blanket fix for a variety of different issues across the game itself. It did fix some, however, mainly it was made to limit a lot of different issues that players are experiencing. So if you're having a GPU issue, if your genitalia is flying all over the place in this game, this is built to blanket fix that and limit what is going wrong so far in the game. The 1.04 patch, on the other hand, was implemented for a much more specific reason. It was implemented to reduce the epilepsy risk within the game itself. And it was also implemented to fix the DMCA issue of copyrighted music within Cyberpunk 2077. Now this is interesting because CD Projekt Red had actually released a statement about this several weeks earlier, saying that they had already tried to patch this. It still was actually not muting all of the copyrighted music within the game. And this proves to be a big issue, especially with just how relevant the DMCA has been with Twitch streaming in recent events. Now it's patched at this point, however, I would keep an eye on it just to make sure that there are no other hiccups along the way. Overall, however, this game did release with a huge fan base behind it. As I said, it had record-breaking sales on its first day, and while there are a lot of different issues with this game, overall, Cyberpunk 2077 did not prove to have any game-breaking issues. So while there were some annoying bugs along the way, for the most part, you can really enjoy this game as a whole. Moving past that, we are going to head to Kinetic Games' recent title, Phasmaphobia. It released back in September, and it has released a menagerie of new content along the way, and a new map was just released last week called Prison. Now, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's a medium-sized map that brings in a whole new different set of challenges for players. It is very exciting for the horror franchise, and it is going to be a very interesting new addition to this game. However, this was not the only thing that was implemented with that map. There was also a patch that went into the game to help smooth out some different issues. So players were previously able to glitch away from ghosts apparently to safety, and this is an issue that Phasmaphobia was not able to patch up to this point. They have patched it as of now, so you won't be able to glitch away from those terrifying ghosts, but you will be able to pick up objects again because the collision bug has finally been patched, which is a big deal. And there was also a full reduction of lag across the entire game itself. So there's going to be an upgrade in quality, an upgrade in just your ability to interact with different things within the game itself. It's going to be a good change for the game. Heading away from that, we go to Call of Duty Cold War. Now we finally have Season 1 arriving on December 16th. It's a big deal for all of you Call of Duty players out there, me included. I am very excited about this brand new season. It has a lot of interesting things headed our way, and while we don't have a lot of information on any of the multiplayer aspects of this season, we did finally get a look at the brand new Warzone map headed our way during the Game Awards last week. Now, it was confirmed that it's going to be Rebirth Island. This is very exciting because the map really looks like a brand new take on what Warzone is going to be. Rebirth Island, on first glance, is much smaller than Verdansk. So there is a big question of whether the amount of players that are going to be able to drop into this map is going to be reduced, or is it just going to be a much more chaotic map as a whole. It's going to be interesting either way because it's going to really add to the difficulty of playing Warzone. Warzone really thrived on a sense of realism and a sense of urgency, and it really brought a new tactical level to the game itself. And with this new map, it is going to be a whole new level of difficulty. Cold War so far has had a hit or miss reception with all of its fan base, and while initially many gamers were very disappointed with this game, it has started to build momentum like many Call of Duty games before it. Usually I end this segment with releases and anniversaries, and while there was a ton of releases last week, there was actually no major anniversaries across any platform. So this week, the anniversary category, there's going to be crickets there, but the release category, there's going to be quite a bit of noise. I'm going to lead it off with Unto the End. Now, Unto the End is a 2D combat adventure game. It released on December 9th and published by Big Sugar. It looks like a very interesting game. I have had my eyes on this for quite a bit. It's released for all platforms, so any of you can go out there and get it. Now, the next game on the list is actually only for Xbox and PC. I'm talking about Call of the Sea. This game released on December 8th, and it is going to be a first-person adventure puzzle game. It has a very rich, unique animation style, and for anybody who is looking for a very challenging puzzle game, definitely check that out because it is going to be something special for all of you. Next, though, we head to Nintendo Switch. Now, Switch had two major games released on its platform on December 8th. I'm talking about Doom Eternal and Monster Sanctuary. Both very big games in their own right, and they are going to be available for all of you Switch players as of last week. We're going to end, however, with PC game releases. Now, I'm only going to talk about one for now, but it is a big one. I'm talking about Medal of Honor Above and Beyond. It released on December 10th, right alongside Cyberpunk 2077, and while it wasn't as big as Cyberpunk 2077, it definitely had quite a bit of build-up, and as the game released, it had a lot of negative feedback on Steam specifically. The game apparently has a lot of issues, including long load times, performance problems, and object selection issues. This was a big week for all kinds of game releases, and it was very exciting just to kind of get a look at Cyberpunk 2077 as it finally released on consoles and PC. It has been in the works for a very long time, and it was just a very special moment for a lot of gamers who have been anticipating this game for almost a decade at this point. Now, if you haven't picked it up, take a look at it. TechRaptor actually has done a bunch of different articles and content on this game. There's going to be a bunch of links below, and if it's not there, check out the site as a whole because there's a lot of great content that you guys should definitely check out if you are interested in more about that game. However, with that, I'm going to end this episode. Everybody have a great week, stay gaming, stay entertained, and I will see you next week on the Weekly Rewind. Take it easy, y'all.